Hello everybody, welcome to the very first episode of CharredBrain's Weekly Thoughts. In this episode I want to look at EA's current situation and its games, especially the SimCity's failed launch, and compare it to Mass Effect 3, the launch last year. Also, in this episode I want to try to delve into the reasons why the games are in the current state as they are. Now, as everybody knows, SimCity had a failed launch this year. The game itself, and especially its simulation, is quite bugged, and is widely viewed as a regression compared to SimCity 4. Now, before we look further why this game ended up in this spot, let's look at Mass Effect 3's last year's launch. Now, EA originally planned to release Mass Effect 3 at the end of 2011, and it has been delayed until March 2012. And let's remember, SimCity is released in March 2013, in a very similar time frame, just 1 year later. Mass Effect 3 is, at least in my opinion, an overall good game. And many reviewers agree then that Mass Effect 3 is in fact a very good game. But it has also its problems, two of which is a day one DLC that is not free and is crucial to the storyline, the Prothean character, as you already know. The problem with this is not that it's day one, but the problem with this is that it's not free and crucial to the storyline. So I don't like the decision, and not many people liked it either. The second problem is the rushed ending. There has been rumors that the ending is a decision of just 2 to 3 people, and the ending itself in its original state is incomplete. It has plot holes, and a lot of questions are simply unanswered. EA promised a proper ending for the Mass Effect trilogy, but the original ending didn't offer any of that. Now, they did fix the ending with the extended cut. In my opinion, the ending with the extended cut is actually quite good. Of course, it still had some problems, but let's not discuss it further. In my opinion, it's good enough. Now let's slightly change the topic and look at EA's current financial situation. The first thing that you should know is that the fiscal year of EA ends with the end of March. Now, you do remember that both SimCity and Mass Effect 3 are released at the beginning of March. One almost get the feeling that EA put those games in that kind of time frame just to meet a certain quota. Now, without any insider confirming this is just a speculation, but you do get that kind of feeling. After the stock market crash in 2008, EA's market price actually never recovered. It stayed pretty much the same. Compared to powerful companies, I would say, like Intel and Microsoft, who were also hit by the stock market crash in 2008, but made a full recovery pretty quickly afterwards. EA does not look that good compared to them. Now, you may say that Intel and Microsoft are not really competitors of EA, which I agree. So let's look at the competitors of EA. Activision Blizzard made a partial recovery after the stock market crash. The price is not as high as before the crash, but also not as low as at the end of 2008. There's just one problem though. You might remember that Activision and Blizzard merged to one company in 2008, so it's a bit difficult to compare the market price during the hype with after the hype. So let's take a look at another competitor of EA, Take-Two Interactive. If you don't know who Take-Two Interactive is, they are basically two things. One, Rockstar Games, who is famous for their GTA series. GTA 5 is due to release in September in this year. I'm very looking forward to it. The other part of Take-Two Interactive is 2K Games. 2K Games is a publisher similar to EA. 2K Games released games like the original Borderlands and Borderlands 2. Both are very good games. I played both games and I quite like it. 2K Games also released the BioShock series. The newest one is BioShock Infinite, which is quite new, released just this year. Although I've played none of the BioShock series games, I've heard that the BioShock series is quite good. And Take-Two Interactive also made a partial recovery after the 2008 crash. The market price is not as high as in 2008, but it's higher than after the crash. Now, with EA's current financial situation in mind, one kind of get the feeling that EA tries to make as much profit as possible simply by shortening the development process and put out as much games as possible. But not everything about EA is bad. They did make good games in their past. For example, EA Digital Illusion CE, short EA DICE, is the studio that creates the Battlefield series. The same studio also created Mirror's Edge, which is released in 2008. Mirror's Edge is a very good game. It's a prime example of why games should be considered a form of art, at least in my opinion. Mirror's Edge is a very creative game. Another example would be Visceral Games. It is also a EA studio which created Dead Space. Dead Space is released in the beginning of 2009. And I've heard that Dead Space is also a very good game. The problem with EA is, as I showed you with DICE and Visceral Games, is not that they are not able to produce good games, but they somehow don't do it. In my opinion, one reason why they don't do it is because of the difficult financial situation. They are under pressure and they are forced to play safe. For example, not inventing new IPs, just continuing existing game series, and also to compress the development process as much as possible to rush out games just in time for the end of a fiscal year to polish their financial report for that fiscal year. Now, in this video, I'm not trying to justify EA's actions, but simply try to find a reason why EA sometimes release such inferior games. I hope that EA somehow can still get around and leave time for the developer to properly design and polish a game and not set impossible to meet deadlines which force developer to rush things, which in the end makes a very good idea into a terrible game. For example, the current SimCity could actually be a very good game if they had enough time to properly design the game. Just a small part of the game as an example, the multiplayer aspect. Although SimCity is marketed as a massively multiplayer online game, it simply does not have many features which support that kind of play, support communication between two players, and support communication between two towns. If they actually had the time to flesh out the multiplayer aspect and had the time to polish the simulation, I think the current SimCity could have been a very good game. But it seems like that they didn't actually have the time to make SimCity a high quality game. A last thing that I forgot to mention is SimCity had a beta test at the beginning of 2013, but the problem with the beta test is each beta tester had only 1 to 2 hours. I don't know the exact amount, but it's simply 1 to 2 hours for each town. Now, usually if you play a game like SimCity, you do play more than 1 to 2 hours on each city. So that beta test actually did not bring out any problems that the simulation had. One almost get a feeling that the beta test is designed to conceal the bugs that the simulation had. Just as that, if they had more time, if they took the time to polish the game to properly design the game features, I think SimCity would have been a very good game. Similar with Mass Effect 3. In the end, they did fix the ending with the extended cut. But the extended cut, in my opinion, should be included on launch as the finished game and not as a add-on, as a sorry to the fans of the games. The extended cut is how the original ending should have been. The Day 1 DLC might also be a hint to the compressed development process. Since a game's certification do take time, the team actually has time during the certification process to make a DLC. I have the feeling that the Prothean character was originally meant to be in the finished game, but since the deadline is so close, they had to leave out the character since it's simply not finished yet by the time the game should went into certification process. During the certification process, they finished the Prothean character and released it as a Day 1 DLC. Unfortunately, the character is crucial to the storyline, so it should be included in the main game and not as a DLC. And that was the problem, but I speculate that the development team simply did not have the time to include that character in the main game. So, this has been the first episode of CharredBrain's Weekly Thoughts. I hope you liked it. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. In the next week's episode, I will talk about Xbox 720 and PlayStation 4's hardware and what impact it might have on games in the future. So stay tuned. And until then, goodbye and take care.